Good to hear from you, Hank. How are you, sir?
Obviously, you didn't see Patton. He didn't do business with the Russians.
No. What would you say on this, Hank Goldberg? I'd love to get your thoughts. The movie tandem that you would most love to look, let's say you're in Joe's Stone Crab, just saying, right?
Yeah.
That's like every day, isn't it, Hank?
No, maybe once a week.
Okay, and you're looking across your Stone Crabs and you see a movie tandem from movie history. Who would you like to see across that restaurant, Joe? Hank?
Probably George Clooney and Matt Damon. They look like they'd be having fun.
Ah, so you're going Ocean's 11 on me there, huh?
I like that.
Oh, a lot of movies besides that, yeah.
Okay.
Well, they had this kind of a series going.
They did. They did. But the original Ocean's movie, I mean, you could go Sinatra.
Well,
Sammy
yeah,
Davis.
that was Sinatra and Dean Martin. And I actually was around the Fontainebleau when Sinatra was hanging out there, and he wasn't a lot of fun.
What do you mean, Hank? You've met Sinatra?
I did. A friend of mine was in charge of entertainment there, and his father financed the hotel. But I remember a guy who was in charge of entertainment there, a guy named Burt Sheldon, and he had albums that he used to sell to the folks around the pool. And one night Sinatra was having a party up in his suite, and he asked Burt Sheldon how many albums he had. He called him, and Burt was really thrilled. He said, "I've got about 50 of them." He said, "Could you bring them up here?" And Burt said, "Yeah, I'll be right up." And he brought 50 of his albums up to the suite, and Sinatra and his friends flung them across outside. They went out on the balcony to see how far they could throw the albums, and they had a contest, and Burt was crushed.
Hank, no kidding. What a story.
How many fingers had Hank?
How many?
Was it a 3-finger day or a 4-finger day?
For Sinatra.
For Sinatra.
Hammer.
What's that?
He wants to know how many. Was it a 3 or 4 finger day on the tumbler for Sinatra that day?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't tell you. I might get whacked. I'll tell you a great story about Paul Horning. Paul and I were at the racetrack about a year ago, several months ago, and Paul was talking about how he dated Ava Gardner a couple of times when he was in L.A., but he had to meet her away from her place because he was afraid that Sinatra would find out about it and have him whacked. And I said, "Paul, you're so casual talking about Ava Gardner. She may have been one of the 5 most desirable women in history. How many times did you date her?" He said, "Only a couple."
Unreal.
Wow, that is amazing.
Wow. Hank, the Hammer Goldberg here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about the really good games on the Week 12 docket. We have it's officially a segment here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hank Goldberg's really good games, and Hank, I've got the list here for you, starting with the New England Patriots and the Detroit Lions. A really good game. How do you see this one playing out in week number 12?
You know, this is such a lousy card. I think your listeners would rather hear Sinatra stories.
No, it's not a bad card. This is a big game.
Yeah, well, New England-Detroit is a very attractive game. And Detroit, you know, Matthew Stafford was shut out last week by Arizona. He's been sacked 31 times. New England is playing great ball right now. They come home, they're superior corners, Browner and Revis. I don't think that Stafford's going to do much. Something bothers me about Megatron. He doesn't look quite right. And New England has averaged over 40 points in their last 6 games. That was starting with the week that everybody wanted to see Brady retired. And he's averaged almost 600 yards for those 40 points. Jonas Gray, where did he come from?
Yeah, right.
And I just like New England in that game. I think, Detroit on the road again this week. And as I said, I just don't like the way Stafford is playing right now on the road.
Game number 2 of Hank Goldberg's really good games. It's the NFC West showdown. The first of 2 games between the Seahawks and the leader of the division, 3 games clear of them, the 9-1 Arizona Cardinals. How do you see this one, Hank?
I see this as the lowest scoring game of the week. Whoever gets to 17 first will probably win. It's just fashionable to say who breaks 20 first, but I'm not fashionable. Whoever gets to the highest teens. You know, Stanton put up 14 points in the first quarter, and they couldn't get a first down the rest of the game. I mean, they really struggled against Detroit's defense, and Seattle's defense I know is not what it was, but Seattle has no passing game. Their receivers are awful. Their front office got rid of, two of their best receivers since last year, and they don't have a passing game. But Lynch and Russell Wilson are their running game, and I think they'll run just enough. But Fitzgerald is hurt, and
So who do you think wins it, Hank?
I think Seattle wins it, but it's going to be really close.
They need it because 6-5 does not cut it in the
they
NFC.
lost Max Unger, their center, and you saw what happened to Cleveland when their center went out.
Right.
And I think that really hurts Seattle. But like I said, their passing game is not there, and I just don't think Stanton's going to hold up in front of that crowd in Seattle.
Hank Goldberg, really good game number 3. The once again AFC North leading Cincinnati Bengals at a Houston Texans team that got life last week with Ryan Mallett's first career win coming on the road. They're 5-5. They're at home. This is a game that the Texans really need, and the Bengals, with everybody else in the division over 500, equally as such. How do you see this one playing out, Hank?
Andy Dalton went from a 2.0 rating to 143.9 against New Orleans. I think the truth is somewhere in between, and I'm not rooting for, but I'm leaning towards 2.0. Dalton on the road again this week, and Houston's defense is really tremendous, and I think he's last week against New Orleans, he didn't face much of a defense, so I like Houston this game. Ryan Mallett was really a good choice at quarterback. He threw for 211 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 4 completions of 16 yards or more. I think Foster will be back, and I like Houston. I think Houston is going to play themselves into contention.
Yeah, and then there's got the Colts. They're only a game behind them. The last really good game, Ravens at Saints, Monday Night Football, and the Saints, they can't lose 3 in a row at home, can they, Hank?
I'm through with that home field advantage. Not only have they lost 2 in a row, but remember they were carried to overtime by Tampa Bay at home. Everybody talks about how bad Cutler has been playing. Drew Brees has 10 interceptions this year. What's up with him? And, Rob Ryan is not exactly his father as a defensive coordinator. And the Saints are without Cooks now, and they lost their safety, Raphael Bush, last week. And Baltimore has had a week off. And, they should call this the No Trust Bowl, because I'm not trusting Flacco either on the road. But this is a live dog situation for me, and I like Baltimore a little bit here. I think
you're not talking about an animal, are you, Hank? You're not talking about an animal whatsoever when you say those words. Hank, you are the man. Thanks for phoning in. I look forward to next week.
This is the best, Rich. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, me too. Again, and Susie.
I'll see if I can come up with more Sinatra stories for you.
Yes, anytime, Hank. And Susie sends her best as well. Okay?
Oh, well, I got to find your home address so I can ship some of those stone crabs to you.
Oh, we will furnish you with that. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, Hank. Thanks again. That's Hank Goldberg.
All
the
the
Hammer.
best.
You bet. You can also find him at CBS Interactive.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.